Well, I'll just make a quick announcement. We've got classes this morning with Mr. Adam and Gibson. And we have yoga with Leah. And this afternoon we have yoga with Nicole Majewski. And I think we can get started whenever you're ready, Adam.
We don't hear you, Adam.
Yeah, that was,
Oh.
yeah, I'm muted. I had to step to the bathroom there for a second. I always like to hydrate. I think I overhydrate in the mornings. Yeah. Can we say that recollections are objects under consideration? Can we say that Cheche is our Shelja?
No, I guess they're not, but didn't we go back and forth about this a little bit, that it seemed like we were using shell in a wider context?
Yeah, shell and gel. And I think, well, yeah, totally. There was something that was inconclusive, it felt like, but we did reach. Gashla made a really good point that I thought was pretty conclusive about this. Whoa, where did it go? There it is. Okay, so yeah, so Socrates would say that recollections cannot be objects under consideration, because being an object under consideration would imply that the object is something which can be perceived by an accurate perception. And you got to recall that we have a list of like 6 different things that are synonyms for an existence or existing thing. And shell job is one of those. And let's see. So I'll put all those down there. So given that shell job is a synonym for existing thing, and the definition for existing thing is anything which someone can perceive using an accurate perception, we can deduce that it's not trying to go say that recollections cannot function as objects under consideration. Because the definition of an accurate perception is a fresh and unmistaken state of awareness.
Yeah, that sounds pretty solid
conclusive
to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. I could swear that we had an issue with that, though, where it looked like the word gel was being used in a broader context. Your logic is airtight, yeah, but I'm not sure that we thought it was used that way in the first.
Yeah. Yeah, and I just wanted to point out for everybody that may be, tuning in for like maybe new to the mixed nuts. This is a pretty cool list to memorize. If you did want to go back to, if you wanted to go to my Dura, all these terms are defined, and there's some pretty cool definitions in there. You can go look in the wrong Luke section of the Dura. There's some pretty cool stuff to commit to memory. So is it
My
possible?
first thought, Adam, though, with your first question was, well, did you say Chechen?
I didn't.
Yeah, so if you had said Chechen, then sure, it'd be what's under consideration.
Right. Thanks, Vince. Is it possible to have a deductive, accurate perception of the fact that sound is changing while also perceiving a sound itself?
Not in this school.
Yeah, and I think this would actually hold between all the schools, and I had a little time. We only covered like 2 sections, so I had a little bit of a hard time kind of coming up with homework stuff. But so it's pretty straightforward, basically saying that you can't hold 2 perceptions at the same time, right? At the exact same time. So if we're perceiving that sound has the quality of being changing, then we can't also be perceiving sound itself. And maybe I could be off about that, but so why does Kendrick J say that the second moment of perception of the color blue must not be a perception of the color blue anymore?
Because it's a perception of the memory of blue.
Yeah.
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 I guess he did this parallel reason with, I spent
Yeah.
so much time thinking about it
There you go.
with a logical perception of sound being changing, and that somehow perceiving it again later is like not needed because you already did it.
Yeah. That is what he said. And particularly, it was just you got it. You hit it right on you hit the nail right on the head. Which is that he was just using a parallel reasoning. Yeah, KJJ appears to be using parallel reasoning to point out an absurd consequence of that would, not of that, but that would arise given Kachik's assertions. Recall that the material from this class is centered upon determining accurateness of a recollection of the deduction of that sound is a changing thing. The parallel reasoning here is highlighting that if it's true that a recollection of the fact that sound is changing is not an accurate perception, then the second moment of our perception of the color blue must also be inaccurate because it's a recollection. So, and I wasn't too, I found this in, anybody have Tolasto Kimbi?
I have an idea, but
Oh, please.
no, but I think other people should struggle with it. Okay.
Yeah,
I assure you, I'm struggling in
Faultlessness-
silence.
it's idiomatic.
faultlessness of that reasoning and so forth.
Yeah, totally. And I like that. I found it in one of the ACI courses. It's just logical inconsistency.
Hey, Adam, you got to look at the chat.
What do we see here? Let me see if I can pull up the chat. What am I missing?
Oh. To talk a
Catherine
little bit
says,
more
rap
slowly.
singer star, slow down, please.
Yeah,
I guess she's talking about you, not me. I don't know.
I have to
feel like
thank
I'm-
you, Adam, for slowly prying the title of fastest talker out of my hands. I was winning for a while. If you
Oh,
slow down too much, then I'll take the position back, but I don't want
yeah.
it.
Well, I knew that I was reading kind of fast because it was one of the questions, but I figured it didn't matter because it's all written down and it's been translated.
Mhm.
Already. But I'll definitely slow down. Thank you for the reminder, Galsay. And I feel like I'm going pretty slow this morning. I woke up at I feel pretty slow.
The heart is slow, but the mouth is willing.
Yeah. Definitely.
Hey, Adam, can you blow this up a little bit?
Yes,
My
sir.
grandpa-
Yeah.
So what does it mean?
Logical inconsistency.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I should read these too, right?
Yes.
Yes, please. Slowly.
Yeah, definitely. Was it Kali Kakbo? Yeah. Is that how you say it slowly? Tir tema me showe dun gel jawa tam yi kang cheshe su kirwa mayinte de gutsen ge par ok tu cheto.
Nice. So, we're close to the end of this section, so I think we should have a little celebration. But I'll tell you a way I've been thinking about it that I think will help a lot. And it's like this, okay? So you're some person who thought that Om, the sound Om was unchanging. And then, somebody said to you, sound is a changing thing because it is produced by causes and conditions which change. So if the energy which pushes a thing into existence modulates, if it changes bigger and smaller, then the result of that energy should also be changing. So for example, if a sound of my voice comes from the air in my lungs, since that quantity of air is always changing, then the result that it produces should also be always changing. So let's say at 9 o'clock, you figure that out, and it sounds good to you. And then at 9:05, you think about it again. Okay, so at 9 o'clock, you realize that if sound is produced by the air in my lungs, and that air is always changing, then the result of that air, the sound, should also be changing. Let's say you figure it out at 9 o'clock, and then 9:05, you question yourself again, and you use maybe even the same reason. And at 9:05, you see that the sounds I am making with my voice, they must be changing because the air is changing in my lungs. Is that second perception atsema or not?
I would say no.
But it's correct. It's a correct perception. Let's put it now. Here's the key, I think, and we haven't talked about it enough. I think, what's the definition of a correct perception in this school?
Sardu Miluerikpa.
Sardu Miluerikpa. Sardu Miluerikpa. It's a unmistaken perception, which is fresh. Okay, a fresh, unmistaken perception, because they say if you're sitting in a chair at 9:05 and you close your eyes and you think about whether the sound your voice made at 9 o'clock is a changing thing, you're not perceiving a fresh thing anymore. And so it's a memory and not a second deduction. You see what I mean? The 9:05, especially if your eyes are closed and you're just thinking about it on the couch, that's just a memory. And in this school, a memory is not reliable. It doesn't perceive the object 100% correctly. So the whole argument has been, if I perceive that my voice is a changing thing at 9 o'clock in the morning, and then and that's a new perception, sardu milue, that object is fresh in my mind because I didn't understand it before. And then at 9:05, if I think about it again, is that a correct perception, or is that just a memory? You see what I mean? And if it's a memory, it doesn't fit the definition of a correct perception because it's not sardu milue rikpa. It's not fresh anymore. It's a review. I'm reviewing some, maybe Cheshe is like review. I'm just reviewing something I saw before. Okay. So I'll ask you, Adam, if I figure something out at 9 o'clock, and then I get distracted by my daughter making noise in the kitchen, and then at 9:05 I figure out the same thing again. Is that a correct perception?
Oh, I mean, we're kind of, we have been flipping. It seems like I'm still tempted to say no, it's not, but so I'm not entirely sure.
Well, I'll give you an idea I had. Is the changing quality of my voice at 9 o'clock the changing quality of my voice at 9:05?
Yes.
Yeah, I think
It's a
you could
different
say
voice
that.
by then.
It's a different,
but
it's still being applied to your voice.
But it's a different voice by then.
changing quality is an unchanging thing, though.
And then it's a fresh perception. I mean, I'll just throw that out, and then he did not say the second perception of my voice changing was not a correct, accurate perception. He said, if I go to 905, majepar, then he added this adverb, adverbial clause, majepar, which means what?
It's
Made?
Without forgetting what I saw at 9 o'clock.
Uh-huh.
He added this phrase. I think he would say, look, at 9 o'clock, if you figure out that your voice is changing, that's an accurate perception, deduction. And then at 9:05, if you see your voice is changing, that's a different accurate perception because that's a different voice by 9:05. But if you add the phrase majepar without forgetting what you figured out at 9 o'clock, then that throws the 9:05 perception into doubt. Then that 9:05 perception might be just a recollection. You see what I mean? And then it doesn't count as an accurate perception anymore. And then if you want to go deeper, which I'm sure everybody does, he talked about how does the voice at 9 o'clock relate to an actual object in the world? And how does the voice at 9:05 relate to an actual object in the world? Because he got into that. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
in a logical statement, the voice is an unchanging thing. It's a theoretical thing. You see, it's a when you say my voice is changing because of the air in my lungs, all of those elements are theoretical entities, you know, and it's so he gets into that. Is it connected to a real object or not? And he went through that. Okay, so anyway, the big question that we've been struggling through is 5 minutes later, if I figure it out again that my voice is changing because the air that went into it was a changing thing, is that second perception an accurate perception, or is it just a memory? Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I think you could argue it. I think if you said majepar,
yeah.
if you specify you didn't forget what you figured out before, then I think you might have to argue that the 9:05 perception
Is
is
a record.
just a memory.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I get it now.
Yeah. Okay, so what it says here is chir semangame shawe dun. If you take the voice, which was perceived by the first perception, the first logic at 9 o'clock, okay, that's what the first line here means. If you take the voice, which was figured out to be changing by the accurate perception at 9 o'clock, okay? Just because, second line, just because you jawa it again, same verb, shawa and jalwa are just different tenses of the same verb, okay?
Yeah.
So the first line, shalwa, is past tense, okay? The thing that you figured out at 9 o'clock, shalwa, past tense, just because you jalwa it again, okay? Just because you consider the same object again, or just because you see the same object again at 9:05, which is your voice, that doesn't necessarily make it a cheche, third line. Cheche su yorwa mayan. Just because you see the same object you saw at 9 o'clock and you use logic again at 9:05 and see the same object, that doesn't make the second perception an untrustworthy recollection. Because what if you figure it out again at 9:05?
Yeah, well, then it's fresh.
And
Yeah.
then the voice that you're thinking of is a different voice. It's the 9:05 voice. So you're not perceiving the same object. Okay. Okay. That's his final position. He says, look, just because at 9:05 you're figuring out something about the voice that you were figuring out something at 9 o'clock, that's not necessarily a memory. Maybe it's a fresh realization. You see what I mean?
Mhm.
Maybe you figured it out again. And the object of that 9:05 perception is a different voice, because the voice is impermanent. You get it?
Yeah.
Because the voice is changing, because you will lose your voice as you get closer to 70 and 75, 80. You know, it's a changing entity. The one you see at 9 o'clock, unfortunately, it's not the one you see at 9:05. Okay. So then he bails out. Okay, Adam. And what's he say? De Gyutsen Gepa Oktu Che. He bails out on us.
We're going to talk about this later.
Yeah, let's talk about this more later. It's like he's getting tired of this class. He's like, okay, let's move on to something else, you guys. Okay. All right. Yay. Anyway, what he's playing with the definition of of an accurate perception in this school, it must be fresh. But I would say, look, if the perception at 9:05 is not a new perception of a new object, right? A new logical perception, then you never have an accurate perception in your whole life because you've perceived everything before in past lives. You know, then if that's the standard, then you've never had an accurate perception in your whole life because there's nothing you haven't seen before. Okay, there's nothing you haven't thought of before. I mean, basically. Okay, so.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Let's go to 339 because it's the first thing we can easily understand in the last 5 classes or so.
Okay.
Uh,
Not kelon pelcher tetson tamyang mashuk parnang shing chung se shuk patat la yang kang chi yin to ma chung war nang ngo.
Yeah, good. I like your translation. The lomba is perfect for, by the way, the lomba is about being a K-pop.
Yeah.
Okay. Most people who have delusions of being masters, you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Most people who have delusions of being masters, they didn't even Tetsom saw about this.
They didn't even have any doubt concerning
They didn't even wonder about it. They just, okay, what's the definition of Sema? Oh, it's a new accurate perception. Okay, what's next? And then K-Dub-J says, God, they didn't even wonder if the perception 5 minutes later was still inaccurate. You know, most people, they didn't even think about it. Good, yeah. They didn't even think about it, okay? And those who did think about it a little bit, okay, Chungse Shupa, those who wondered about it a little bit, they were completely clueless. Okay, and I want you to catch the nango at the end, nango.
Okay.
He's being polite. He's being polite.
It would appear that they're clueless.
It just looks like they're
Yeah.
clueless.
Yeah, he's softening his criticism. He says, I don't know. I mean, it means I might be wrong, but it looks like they have no idea at all. They're completely tul machung means clueless, completely confused about this. Okay. Seems
Yeah,
to me.
he is
Seems like they might be. He's just being polite. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, good.
And it looks, I mean, he also used the Mashuk Parnong up there too. That's what it was. I didn't know if we needed. Yeah. Okay. Never mind.
Yeah,
is
but
not-
should means they never even got into this question.
Right. Right.
Yeah, yeah. And he said it's weird if you understand the definition of an accurate perception and the definition in this school, and not in high schools, by the way, but the definition in this school requires that the perception be fresh. Well, what if you figure the same thing out 5 minutes later? Then is that an accurate perception? And if it's not, then the changing sound at 9:05 is a non-entity.
Mhm.
It doesn't even exist. You see, then you get really weird because it's not being perceived by an accurate perception. Okay. Cool.
It's not great.
It brings up. Yeah.
Then the changing sound that you perceive at 9:05 is a fantasy. It doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Okay. And that gets really weird. Okay.
But people have lousy perceptions of things that exist all the time, of course.
Yeah, but that thing that they are perceiving at that moment is a non-entity. Because it
To
doesn't
them.
correspond exactly to what you see with good logic.
When you say non-entity, you mean non-existent. Mipa.
Yeah, I mean non-existent. Anything which is less than 100% accurate copy of an object doesn't exist. Yeah.
But a person could have an inaccurate perception. A person could use faulty logic to arrive at an assumption about the existence of something that Namken sees or that someone else with good logic sees. And then we might say that that object exists, but that person arrived at it for the wrong reason. And thus they don't have a tsema, they don't have a pramana, but the thing exists.
Well, it exists to the other person. How's that?
Yeah, right. To Namken, to the other person, to you, to me, even though that person is wrong from our perspective.
What he's trying to get at, and don't forget, one of the whole purposes of this book is to prove that the Buddha is accurate, the
right.
unfailing person. And so what they see is ultimately real. Can I say ultimately? And
yeah, in this school, you can.
Yeah, and if it's seen with lesser authority, then that version of the thing doesn't exist. Yeah.
Geshe, is this list of synonyms for existence, is this exhaustive?
I can think of Sheja's missing. Oh no, Sheja's there.
Yidu is there, yeah.
Yeah, there's one other weird one I can't remember. You got a pretty good list. Yep.
Okay.
Pretty good list. Yep. Okay. Okay, and by the way, today's class is a well-deserved entertainment by K2J. Okay. And he's not gonna let you stay there very long, but let's enjoy it while we're there. Hang on.
I saw the new notes, Geshe. Thank you for all the hard work.
Oh, I sweated over you. I call them the three unbreakables. It's the Utpala's text, Adam's text, and who's the third one? Oh, word. I mean, Master Kramer's text is also a pain in the ass, and Stevens' text is a pain in the ass.
Oh,
But
finally.
right now, we're at a soft part in those two. Not so bad. By the way, Adam, I'm going to interrupt your class for 1 second.
To honk your horn.
Can you see this advertisement?
Oh, yeah.
Wow. Pretty.
Wow.
Okay, we're having
Fancy.
a 2-day Chinese New Year show
One of these pictures is not like the others.
at the Peachtree World News. By the way, this is a Mexican Chinese announcement by Gina, who does great work.
Wonderful.
So 2023 is the year of the rabbit. And we're going to have a Chinese New Year show at the Peachtree World News. And we're going to have Seiji and his wife Noor are going to go through Peacock Warrior again. And the theme of the show is try to have a hopeful year in 2023. And they're going to give us some poetry from ancient India and ancient Persia and ancient Arabic. And they're going to compare those two, right, Seiji? A little bit more comparison and how to have hope in the new year. Then Grandpa's going to teach Shensang. Here's a statue of Shensang, who walked for 17 years through India and came back and wrote some great ideas about how to have hope for the new year. Then we're going to have an auction of a painting that was made by a young man who crossed the Atlantic on a small boat last month, which is my, what do you call, stepson. And he did a painting, a beautiful painting. The proceeds from that painting, the main part, we're going to donate to a project in Dunhuang, China, which is the Gobi Desert. And it's the caves in China where they found the Diamond Cutter Sutra. And they're trying to raise money. The Chinese government is raising money to save those books and to save those caves. So we're going to auction that painting and give the main income to, we're going to give a little bit to the artist. We're going to give a little bit to the cost of the show, but the main income we're going to give to the Chinese government to help save books in those caves. And then Grandpa's going to teach you how to cook dim sum for New Year's, because I used to cook that a lot for my teacher for 25 years. And I thought you would like to know the secrets of cooking New Year's dumplings. Okay, so if you have time, January 21st and 22nd, Arizona time, and then Asia time, 22nd and 23rd, 10 a.m. to noon. Okay. All right.
By Asia time, do you mean time in China or
Asia
in
time means
Japan,
Beijing
or-
time. Beijing, Singapore, Taiwan, Hong Kong, and Vietnam is a little bit different. Vietnam's 1 hour after, before that, I think 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, here we go. Back to Adam. Where are you?
Yeah, and sorry guys, I didn't realize that I said can be. Yeah, I've always heard the same thing. Anything which is perceived with an accurate perception.
Okay,
So
cool.
like confusion in there. I saw a few comments in the chat there. I was just
Okay, now this is the Parkapi Sig. Okay, Parkapi Sig. Do you guys remember what that is?
Interstitial verse?
Yeah, when he gets through with a top section, and other writers also do this, they give you some entertainment, like Seiji's poetry. They give you some poetry, and it's considered kind of a break. And you're supposed to, sit back, have a nice coffee, eat some yo chow or churro, and ponchik, and just relax. And then you start a new subject. And it's a beautiful custom. And it's poetry. It's always in poetry. So please read, Adam.
Da rekpe chushele mutik cheng dai chu gyun zak da loy ni lung wa yi ngun me lekshe dap tong ke dini sasum jitena chen damepe zeche yin barkap gitsik suche bao.
Nice. Okay. What's the Dawe Adam?
This is the light of the moon, right?
Yeah, the light of the moon, which is supposed to be cool and cools things down, as opposed to the light of the sun. Chu shell is a crystal.
Yeah.
It's not a diamond. It's a rock crystal, which traditional shape is kind of long, right? Narrow and long. And it's, I don't know, it's hexagonal or something. Yeah, I think it's hexagonal crystal structure. So you've seen them in rock shops in Arizona, right? So
Yeah.
when the moonlight strikes it's called a water crystal, but it just means rock crystal.
Okay.
When it strikes a rock crystal, you get a chugyun zocking out.
Like a stream of what is it? Zak.
Zoc means to drip out. And it's, to be frank, it's similar to semen. So zoc means to drip out of something. And he says that chugyun, that stream,
Right.
that drips out is similar to mutik.
Oh, what was the mutik?
Oyster?
Pearl.
Pearl. Okay. Yeah.
Those drops zocking out of a crystal, a long thin crystal, are similar to a string of pearls.
Pearls. Yeah.
They have this luminescent quality when the drops drop out. Okay, when the moonlight hits, and that's an ancient tradition that rock crystals actually have some kind of water inside of it, and that's what makes it clear. And the superstition is that if the moonlight strikes a rock crystal, some kind of nectar will drop out. Okay, seep
I've
out.
seen this.
Okay, then he says, my mind, this modest guy, my mind is like me.
Sunlight.
Yeah, my mind is like sunlight. And when it strikes something, okay, so when it falls down on something, you get this daptong sahasrara.
I'm not sure what the dop is.
That means
Petals?
petals.
Okay.
Yeah, you get the 1,000-petaled lotus.
Yeah.
Oh.
Which spreads, which opens.
Yeah, and it opens into Lake Parshepas.
And so, fine explanations.
Yeah, when my mind, the sunlight of my mind strikes these ancient books, you get huge lotus flowers opening up. Moon May, which no one ever saw before.
Before, I mean, yeah. Okay.
He's being modest. Okay, when the electric power of my intellect strikes those ancient books, huge lotuses of wisdom that you never heard before open up. And he's comparing it to the moonlight striking a rock crystal.
Right.
And this drips coming out of beautiful pearls. Okay.
Right.
Okay. Then he says, Dini, these two images of pearl drops and of the extraordinary lotus of my explanation
The three, levels,
in the whole sasums of the
yeah,
Jikten.
three realms. Yeah.
Yeah, in the three realms of this universe, is Zecha, is the most
Beautiful Dharma.
thing. It's the most beautiful thing that has no denda.
That has no equal, no match.
Yeah, nothing can match it. Nothing can match these two beautiful things. Nothing can match the beauty of the pearl drops coming out of a rock crystal when the moonlight hits it. And nothing can match the beauty of the lotus of my eloquence, which no one has ever seen before. When the sunlight of my mind strikes these ancient books. Okay. And then he says, I'm just giving you a little poem in between here.
Yeah.
And I looked up this Chu shell myths about crystal, rock crystal, and I got into it, and you can see the notes here. And then there's some references to it's almost sexual references of that Chu shell in Sanskrit, Udaka Harshana. It means, Udaka means water, and Harshana means some kind of blissful thing. Hirsch means the prickling of your hairs when you are excited. Okay, right. So there is some comparison of that rock crystal. The name of the rock crystal in Sanskrit is almost like linga. Okay, and that's something, I don't know where he's going. I had a fantasy, Adam, that the two metaphors were direct perception and logical perception, but I don't know. Okay, I don't know what the two lights are, and maybe you cook it and give us your ideas. Okay,
we'll do.
Yeah, what he's saying is my book is more exciting than an X-rated movie or something. You know, I don't know. It's a weird verse, and I think it takes some meditation. Maybe you'll come up with something. Okay.
Geshe-la,
Yeah.
you think it has tantric undertones?
Very possibly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And don't forget, Jetson Kappa gave K2J initiation within a day of meeting him. So who knows? Okay. Now we're going back to this huge, we're going way, way, way back in the book. And
I can't remember where we were.
yeah, I mean, it's impossible to remember. But we're supposed to be talking about the yewas of accurate perception, the divisions of accurate perception. That's what we're supposed to be inside. Okay. He got way off. He got way, way off. And then we're supposed to talk about Gakshak. So we were supposed to hear a debate about the divisions of accurate perception. And then we were supposed to present our own real presentation without debate, okay? So here, according to K2J, are the classical divisions of accurate perception. And that's where we are, okay? Here we go.
Dani Shelja Rang Tsin Dang Chitsin Niki Nampashak Pashe Parjate.
Yeah, so now I'm going to explain sheljas, all existing objects, in terms of two divisions, Rangtsen and Chitsen.
Okay.
Rangtsen, just remember, Rangtsen means the actual coffee cup. Okay.
Yeah.
And then Chitsen is the archetype, the mental image of the coffee cup, which, by the way, the first one you confirm with
perception.
Direct perception, direct accurate perception. And the
Correct.
second one you confirm with logical perception. Okay, cool. And when you think of it, when you try to figure out whether a copy cup is changing or not, you're dealing with archetypes. When you see it with your eyes, you're dealing with actual cases, which is called rangsen. Okay, so when you see rang in rangsen and you can't remember if it's the mental image one or the real one, just remember rang means itself. Okay, and then Chi-Tsen, when you can't remember, just think chi like Chi-Che-Dan. It's an archetype. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, Adam, who's gonna read now? Pick on somebody.
Let's see. Here's the list of participants. There we are. So first person, Jasmine. I have a Jasmine. Do we have a Jasmine
Oh,
present?
yeah. From beginning, right?
Yeah.
Đây là sáu vị
Jel Ja.
sáu trà răng
Chi.
chỉ nhị su nê lê thế mà gong dê nhị su
Try
nê
Ngunje.
ngân dê par su pê chú
Yeah.
chú pê tuân dê
She.
pa thang chế pa thang
Right. Okay.
răng sen thang
Chi.
ni san ni ki ra tuân chế pa thang răng y so soi cô bồ
Mo.
ngô bồ than là đáp phá thắng su y
Apa.
thắng thông mi
Sa
sorry
apa. Apa. Tena apa.
đáp phá
Okay.
đáp phá thank you
Yay, good
Yeah.
job.
No, thank you.
That's how you start. That's how you start. So our discussion of actual cases and what are you gonna call Chichen, like archetypes, okay, for now. Expressions and archetypes, okay? Actual
Mhm.
expressions of the thing and then the archetype of the thing. Our discussion's gonna have three parts. We're gonna talk about how the existence of actual expressions of a thing and then archetypes of a thing is reflected in that sema required to confirm them. Okay, there's two kinds of objects in the universe. Therefore, there's two kinds of
Perception.
accurate perception.
Accurate
And
perception.
they are Munsum and Jepak. He does not give you the full spelling here, right?
Right.
This is Munsum and I wish he had, I mean, it would have been. Was it Munsum and Jepak, okay. Okay. Munjay, okay. So the existence of two kinds of objects in the universe is confirmed by there's two different kinds of perception in the universe. Okay, all right. Two kinds of accurate perception. Munsum perceives which one?
Ngunsum perceives Rangsen. Jepak perceives sorry, Chichen.
Yeah,
Wow.
good. Direct perception sees actual examples of things in the world, and Jepak confirms the archetypes of those actual objects in the world. Okay,
Mhm.
cool. So his first section is gonna connect the two kinds of objects in the universe to the two kinds of accurate perception in the universe. Okay. Then he's gonna get into the drawdown of Rang, Sen, and Chi, Sen. What's drawdown mean?
I don't want to use referent, but I mean, that's kind of what it means. Yeah.
Meaning of the
He says,
words.
yeah, let's get into the literal meaning. Why are the things that you confirm with direct perception, why are they called own sign, self sign, rangten? Why are they called? Why are the actual occurrences of things in the universe called own sign? And why are the objects you perceive with your eyes closed with logic, why are they called general signs? Okay, where do those names come from? Okay, cool. That's going to be really helpful, right?
Yeah.
Then he's going to get, again, then he's going to say, then thirdly, we'll go into the definitions and the descriptions of these two different levels of reality, actual cases and theoreticals. Okay, all right. And that's the three categories that we're going to go through for the next 6 months or something. Okay.
So whenever we see drawdown, like we can just, I mean, because literally I see it as like sound object.
Yeah,
but
it's just an idiom. Yeah,
Okay.
it just means, hey, do you want to know where the name Adam comes from?
Yeah.
Which is
Like word
Adam, I
meaning.
think.
yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, that's all.
So Ngoo here, boss, you said is examples
It
and
means, here Ngoo means definition
okay.
or the description. What are they exactly? Ngoo
Yeah,
means
right.
what are they?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just about wrap up time, Geshe-la.
To maybe Mr. Adam, can you do a wrap up?
Yeah. So we were okay. So Majapar, I think, is the kind of the pivotal point of what we were discussing first, and we were looking at deductions based on figuring out that something has the quality of being changing. So if we look at sound and we deduce that sound has the quality of being changing, that's one thing. Then if we come back 5 minutes later and we have not forgot that perception, I think Majapar, if we have not forgot that perception, then it's still a recollection. But if we have to deduce it again, it becomes another fresh perception. Then we moved on to what was it? What was it called? We had a short poem by Kendrick J, and then we just moved on to a new section in which we were going to talk about what was it? The three. So he's describing what we're going to describe, and then he sets down what we're going to talk about in the next section, and mainly that there are two objects, and that there are two types of perception to go along with each of those objects, and then what was the second? It was the drawdown. So we were talking about the words themselves, where Chitsen and Rangsen come from, and why are they called that? And then the third was setting down the definitions. Tenla Bapa, the Ngoo, so Ngoo, so was it? Anyways, he's going to talk about the individual definitions each. Yeah.
By the way, Adam, just a brief note. Somebody asked, Elmira asked very wisely in the chat, what's the difference between accurate and valid? Because we used to call it valid perception.
Mm-hmm.
I went through some books yesterday changing valid to accurate. And this goes back to an old argument I had at my diamond company, where I would make decisions as a vice president based on the information I had. I would make business decisions, and then they would turn out wrong. And then the main investor guy would call me in and yell at me. And I would say, but the decisions were valid. And he said, yes, they were valid, given the information you had, but they were not accurate. So that's the difference. Okay, valid means given the information you have, is the decision, does it make sense at the time? And then accurate means, does it turn out to be correct? And that's a big difference. So we have actually changed our mixed nuts translation from valid perception, see, which could still be wrong, Adam, you see? The process could be mostly valid and the result could be mistaken. And I think it's more accurate to say accurate, okay? Which means
Thank
it's
you.
correct, okay? Okay,
Thanks for the class.
yeah, thank you. And that was a great section. I'm so glad we're out of it. All right.
Thank you, Geshe-la.
Okay, see you guys in how long, Mr. Newton?
9 minutes,
Yay, oh, huge break.
big break.
All right.
Thank you, Geshe-la. Thanks, everybody. See you then.
Hey.